thanks for breaking your sweat when it's already hot in this room and entertaining me for a little while. I'm going to be using the word dare a lot over the next few minutes as I tell my story about working abroad. And the reason why I love the word so much is because if you look at the definition, it actually doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. It just means that you have the courage and boldness to try. So you're in college now to get a degree so that you can get a job, to have a family and support it. You know, we tend to do things that are very outcome-oriented in this world. Well, today I'm going to be talking about a little bit more playful, where it doesn't matter if you succeed or not. So you might be asking, how did I dare myself? Well, I was dared in my first job out of college to succeed working for Toyota Motor Asia Pacific in Singapore across 14 different Asian countries. In that position as Senior Executive Officer and Kaizen Leader, I was the only woman in the field of operations. I was the youngest in my entire department. I was the only native English speaker. I was the only Caucasian in an office of 250 people. Female, Caucasian, young. And, yeah, that's it. So basically I had all these reasons to not succeed. But it was actually those reasons that created this opportunity for me to really stand out within the region and make some change within Toyota, which I'll share with you today. So, how did those dares start? Hey Tim, is there any way we can adjust this a little bit? It looks like it's getting cut off just a tad. Anyway, we can group forward, but my dare started actually where you guys were, which was in college. So when I graduated university, I was a dual major in international business and Asian Pacific studies, and I really wanted to study abroad. Everyone told me I couldn't do it. They had to work your way up in a company. You have to wait until someone promotes you. And I said, well, watch me. So after college, I gave up 5 jobs domestically, and I bought a one-way ticket to Singapore. I had $2,000 cash, and 2 months was my deadline. And I said, if I don't get a job before either one of those run out, I'll come home. But I had to try. So random, but my mom, any of you make your parents a little bit unhappy before in your life? Yeah? She looked a little bit like this when she found out I bought my ticket to go abroad. In fact, she didn't talk to me for 3 months when I actually bought my ticket. And I was the goody two-shoes in the family. So I decided to go. Anyone know where Singapore is on a map? Yeah? What country does it touch?
It's an independent city-state.
It is a city-state, yep. So it is actually called the red dot of Asia Pacific because it's so tiny that you can't even see it on a map. But it touches the country of Malaysia. It is predominantly Chinese, and the second largest population behind that is Indian. So it's very much a melting pot. The crazy thing is that in America, as a country, we are multi-billions of dollars in debt to the country of Singapore, and the average American doesn't know where it is on a map. So it's very much an important country within the South Pacific region. So what happened when I got there? As I mentioned, I did not have a job. I joined the American Chamber of Commerce. I joined the American Association of Singapore. I crashed networking events. I did anything and everything I could to ask the same question, which is, who would hire this young, audacious American gal straight out of college, right? Still to this day, I would never imagine how I actually got my job. I had been there for about 6 weeks, and I had some leads, but nothing was really materializing. And I was on the phone with a family member back home, and they said to me, why don't you just accept reality and come home? So what did I do? I said no, hung up the phone, and went down for a swim. And as I'm swimming in the pool, it was the first time I had taken a break in 6 weeks, no lie. Everyone was like, where are all your Facebook photos? Why didn't you post any pictures? I'm like, I'm not on vacation, I'm trying to get a job. So for the first time in 6 weeks, I go for a swim. And as I'm swimming through this pool, this exact pool, I'm reminding myself, like, Hilary, you got all the way here. You just have to push a little bit further. And as I come out of the water, I am graced by the most adorable 2-year-old Japanese boy swimming in floaties in front of me. So me, without hesitating, I said, konnichiwa. And he looked back at me like, who's this crazy white girl talking Japanese to me? Right? Like any 2-year-old Japanese kid would do. We ended up talking for 30 minutes, him, me, and his mother, in Japanese. Then his father came up from behind. And his father ended up being the most successful Toyota dealership owner for 10 consecutive years in Tokyo. He had already retired, and got hired by the Toyota office in Singapore to start a new department. And lo and behold, he had one position available. And that is when my pipe dream came true. And that's when I realized that you can't just think about ideas, you can't just talk about them or make some inspirational Instagram post. You have to taste them, you have to act on them, you have to chew on them, because at the end of the day, everyone else is just going to tell us to accept reality, right? I'm sure many of y'all have had certain people say that to you in different circumstances. And that is when the story of One White Face actually began. So you might be wondering, wow, what an audacious title. Man, I am telling you, in this time and age, yes it is. I have been called everything from a white supremacist, from a racist, to a woman of white privilege, so therefore I can't talk about culture, and a number of things. The beauty is that the story is actually a quote from my Japanese boss. Given that I was one of 250 people in the office and the only Caucasian, we were in the middle of a meeting room one day, and in the middle of the meeting, the executive vice president walked into the room. So if you can imagine, like a yay-high Japanese man that's been with the company for 30 years, very stoic, you can't read anything that he's thinking or saying, and he's dressed from head to toe in a suit. He walks in the room, so the whole class, or the whole meeting room stands up, and he walks around the room in silence, stands in front of me, looks me in the eye, and says, I hope you realize you're the one white face in this company. I thought to myself, if I was in the United States of America right now, I could sue you and never have to work again in my life. We love to sue here, right? But in actuality, I was frightened. I thought, who am I? This young American white woman that's going to come across to a country like Singapore and take over a company like Toyota. Who do I think I am? And then in almost mere seconds, I realized that he wasn't telling me I couldn't do it. I mean, they hired me. I had been working. He was putting forth that I had a huge challenge and barrier, and it was up to me to prove myself. So in that moment, I made a promise to the company that I would respect what brought its very evident success as the world's largest car manufacturer, but then at the same time add value from these perspectives that they didn't have. Young, Caucasian, American, native English speaker, female. And that is the story of One White Face. So you might be wondering, what did you do? So we're going to learn a little Japanese. Repeat after me. Kai.
Kai.
Zen.
Zen.
Kaizen.
Kaizen.
Now you speak Japanese. So how many of y'all have heard of Zen before? Like Zen Buddhism? Yeah? So Zen, the actual translation means for the better. Kai means change. So together they mean change for the better. Our job was to take these concepts that came from the manufacturing plant for Toyota and implement them into the dealerships. So our role was Senior Executive Officer and Kaizen Leader, which basically meant we led projects all over the country. As an example, in the Philippines, which was my first assignment, it was on-time delivery ratio. And then in India, which was my second assignment, we helped implement new sales operations for the first small car ever introduced into the country of India. So whatever it was, we would tackle that issue within the individual country. And if the project did well, we would share it to other countries, and vice versa. So that is Kaizen. Repeat after me, Kaizen.
Kaizen.
Arigatou. So, you might be wondering, okay, what is global leadership? And there's just so much academics, I'm not even going to go into it. Raise your hand if you've ever seen any one of these words before. So there are many, many types. If you study history, if you study economics, many different types of leadership. What is global leadership? This definition is way too long, right? Do you agree with me? It's way too long. It's really not that complicated. So I like to share the way Toyota taught me, which is through analogies and stories, using this one to start. This is a statement from the global VP of Google, who's an Indian gentleman. And he says, Google's an American company, but 80% of our customers are not American. We can't do business the American way. So how many of y'all think you're fairly global? Okay, wonderful. Raise your hand if you have an iPhone. Raise your hand if you've ever called a tech company and you get put on the phone with someone in the Philippines or India. You're already global. Now, have you been abroad? That's a different definition. But we all have it in our lives, and we're already affected by it, whether we want to act like we are or not. So I would encourage you to give yourself a pat on the back, because we are global already. So when I joined the company, you can see here in the picture, I was actually fake blonde. I feel like you have to do that once in college, right? Maybe, sort of. I did. So when I joined the company, I stood out. I would get pointed at. People wouldn't be able to look me in the eye. As soon as we caught attention around the corner, they'd run away because they were afraid. They had, a lot of these people had never seen a Caucasian person before, and much less a blonde-haired person. And so I knew that I had to do something to blend in, because it wasn't them in my country, it was me in their country, right? So, as you can see in this picture, I chopped off my hair, dyed it back brown, and then when I was in the dealership, which are predominantly male, I would basically dress like a man. I'd wear slacks, I'd wear a button-up shirt, I'd never do my hair or makeup, I never wore jewelry, because we were there for the mission at hand, which is to do business and to improve these operations of the dealerships. And so a lot of people in America, we think, oh, well, you adapted, that's you not being yourself. And this is one of the core differences between the East and the West, which is, it's not about me. It's about our job at hand. In Asian society, this is called collectivism. Has anyone heard of this? Collectivism? Yeah. So collectivism means it's about the collective whole, the collective group, the bigger mission. It's about the team. In Western society, it's individualistic, right? And there's no problem with either. In Japanese culture, there's actually a saying that says, if you're the nail that sticks out, you will get hammered down. Now, I can also argue against that one. But you'll see here that it's all just a beautiful path, and it's knowing when to apply each one and what's the best scenario. So as you can see here, that's not me. Those are models. But the first lesson here, what I want to share with you through this story is, as cut off. I'm guessing this might age me a little bit, but most Americans act like this, which is, I adapt to my own environment, and my environment adapts to you. This is wrong. I can tell you, I worked abroad with some of the most intelligent people from Ivy League schools across the country, and they would go to Asia and fail because they would walk in acting like their way was the right way. So my lesson here is, one, learn how to be a chameleon a little bit. I think some of the most successful people in the adult world know how to adapt, whether they're talking to a senior person or someone in the front line of a dealership that speaks no English. That this is a skill set, and the biggest mistake that we can make as young Americans is to walk into a situation and act like our way is the right way. But two, I know, I blend in so well, right? When I joined the company, actually, I was very adamant about them knowing I was there. So we had a meeting early on, and it was discuss a conference to share like best practice sharing. It doesn't even matter. But I was in the middle of the meeting, and I thought to myself, okay, I need to say something. I need to raise my hand. I need them to know that like it was worth it to hire me. Have you guys ever been in a situation like that where like you wanted to be seen, right? So I raised my hand, I made some arbitrary comment, and afterwards, the meeting dispersed, and in my head, I was like, oh, good job, Hilary, that was good. My boss comes up to me and he said, Hilary-san, that's what they say, Hilary-san, why did you say that comment? And then I continued to repeat the comment. I was like, I really think that it's good if we do this. Thinking I was like, yeah, like making a statement, being bold, and, being seen. And he said, how can you know if you are brand new in the company? And I said, well, I really want to help, I really want to contribute. And he cut me off and he said, I don't expect you to know. And I think this is one of the core differences between the States and abroad, is that they're more interested in the long-term learning, whereas we, when we join a company, for any of y'all that have had internships, right, you take a position and it's immediately get things done. In Facebook, as an example, if you don't perform within 3 months of being in the company, you get hacked, like you're gone. But he was making a great point, like how can you have an opinion if you don't know, right, if you're brand new? So the point here is, it's not always the American way. And to sometimes forget the individual. I don't know about y'all, but I think that in our time, right now in the States, that we could use a lot less of this, a lot less of opinions, a lot less of, voicing out. I absolutely believe in America's freedom of speech and ability to really empower people's voices. There's never been more of a time for that. But I think we could also take a better look at ourselves and when it's better to take a step back and admit that we don't know, right? So this is my office if I wasn't working in the dealership. The stuffed animals are just decoration. But what you'll see here is this is actually an open air office. How many of you guys have heard of an open air office? Wonderful. What is the purpose of an open air office? You just yell it out. Communication? There are a couple hands over here. What else? One over here? What's the purpose? Why would they have no cubicles?
For like creativity and collaboration.
Beautiful. Creativity, collaboration, accessibility, unity. So, in Asian culture, it's very uncommon to build these partitions between us. What you'll also notice here is this desk right here is the president of Toyota Motor Asia Pacific. If you walked into an office and the president was not in his corner cubicle or whatever, or with the door shut, what would that make you feel? What does this promote? Friendliness? Yeah. If he didn't have the door. Yeah, friendliness. I mean, this is a CEO of a company. He's been with the company 35 years, very successful man. Friendliness, accessibility, you'd probably want to talk to him more. You'd want to learn from him more. I mean, essentially, it's bringing together on the same page towards a bigger mission. Here's another thing that you don't notice in this picture, that his desk is the same size desk as everyone else's. What does that promote? Exactly. So a lot of companies these days, probably not so much Google, they probably got it down pat, but a lot of companies these days talk about promoting diversity and inclusion, but they don't actually create an environment to cultivate different people's opinions, creativity, collaboration, and all these such things. The last thing here is my nameplate. Why would my nameplate be pink? Everyone's like, I don't want to say it. Because I'm a girl. It's okay, yes. Because I'm a woman. Here's something. When we talk about Kaizen in Toyota, there's a tool called root cause analysis. Has anyone taken operations? Random question? No? All right, wonderful. When you do take operations, now you're a step ahead. There's something called the 5 whys. And what it means in Kaizen is that you have to ask why minimum 5 times before you get to the root cause. So why is my nameplate pink? Yes, because I'm a woman. Second question is why would they want to identify that I was a female? This isn't a trick question. Anyone? So you have an office, 250 people, all Asian nationalities, from 14 different Asian countries, which means 14 different cultures, which means 14 different ones. Sure, way more than 14, yes. But within culture, what is represented? Anyone study a second language? What language?
I study Spanish.
Amazing. What other languages do y'all speak? Chinese? That's very difficult. So you have 14 different languages. In India alone, there's over 60 languages they speak. We would have people within the dealership that we worked in that couldn't even talk to each other because they spoke a different language. So this is what we call in Japanese, jidoka, which means a visualization tool. So it's a visualization tool to prevent from insulting people. So again, creating a harmonious environment. And what do global leaders do? They really cultivate diverse community. They don't talk about diversity being a good thing. They make it a good thing. Another story from India. This was actually a rare moment. Typically, the Indian environment was predominantly male. This was actually a holiday, so they invited their wives into the dealership to celebrate. But during one of the birthdays of these women, we actually did what we do in the States, where we have a birthday cake, we sing happy birthday, we take a picture, and all that fun stuff. Well, as we disseminated back to our desks, I go back to my seat, and I continue working. And a few moments later, one of my Japanese bosses came up to me, tapped me on my shoulder, and said, "Hilary-san." I turned over. He said, "Can you please go back to the kitchen and help the other women clean up?" Yeah, exactly. You can imagine my reaction. I'm like, what? This is the world's largest manufacturer. We're in the 21st century, and you're still asking women to do this? Inside, I was thinking that, right? I didn't say that. But I went back to the kitchen, and the women were still cleaning up, and the men were back at the seats, already at work. I was livid for like 2 solid months. I was just complaining, spewing to all my fellow expatriates that were working abroad, until one friend said something to me that changed everything. And he said, "Hilary, is this a personal dilemma, or is this a cultural dilemma?" And that's when I realized I had been wrong the whole time. Sure, is the role of women in Japan something to talk about in a different way? Absolutely, but it's not something I'm an expert in. And who am I going to come into a company and change that overnight, right? But instead, it wasn't an ethical challenge. It wasn't a moral dilemma. I was personally offended based on my understanding of culture. But really, this was just an important piece of their culture. So, as Ryan would say, although it's cut off, who am I to explain someone else's culture to them, right? And I think even domestically, sometimes we do that as well here in the States. So what I want to end with this point is, I often find when I was working with the company that it would be much more beneficial to me and everyone around me if I sought to understand instead of sought to criticize. And that takes a whole lot of practice. So in India, you can see this was actually a normal situation. And this picture represents one of the biggest meetings we had with some of the biggest bosses from Toyota back in Japan who had flown in for this meeting. But in this picture, there's one person who is the biggest boss of them all. Who do you think it is? Just yell it out. Anyone? This guy? No? He's handsome, right? Nope. Nope. This guy? Nope. Process of elimination. I know, I'm really not that mean of a person to trick you guys like that. I was taking the picture. There's one person. Did anyone guess this guy? Yeah? Tell me why you thought him.
I don't know, because he's in the center of the table.
Center of the table. Anything else?
He just catches the attention.
Yeah? Did anyone else guess him? This one? You were thinking him? Why were you thinking him? Yeah, so y'all are basically succeeding what I did the whole time, which is like reading people's demeanor. That is the biggest person in the room. The reason is, back in samurai days in Japan, the person who had the most authority would sit furthest away from the door without his back to the door, because that's how he would avoid assassination. So still to this day, Toyota will seat their biggest meetings this way, to the point where they actually make a seating chart in advance based on the hierarchy within the organization. Which comes to the next question of, where do you think I sat? Funny story, I actually was not invited to this meeting because I was a female. It took 2 months of me bringing it all the way up to the leader of the India team until it got approved for me to be in the meeting. So I'm like way back here. I'm not, that's why I'm taking a picture, no one else is. So, despite India being like that, is predominantly like that, and I certainly wasn't going to change overnight, but we actually were able to make a big impact. The woman that was on my team when I joined the project had been with the dealership for 7 years, and the owner of the dealer didn't even know her name. By the time we left a year and a half later, the owner of the dealership said, "From now on, Vasha, you come straight to me, whatever you need, and I'll get it for you." And that's how Kaizen change actually happens, is through these small incremental changes for the better. So, as Will likes to say, it's not even that, that's amazing. Why do I put Will Ferrell on my presentation? In the middle of India, which is a market that basically will determine the success of Toyota as a whole, because it's so big and so important. Very, very fun as well. To summarize, 1, learn how to be a chameleon, adapt when you need to. 2, forget the individual sometimes. 3, cultivate a diverse community, don't just talk about it. 4, seek to understand instead of criticize. And 5, think like an astronaut. I think if in the United States, we as individuals did more of this, that we would be a collective whole, all better, in Kaizen together. So when I quit the company, one of my Japanese colleagues said to me, Hilary, well, she said, Hilary-san, she was a Japanese female in the company. She said, Hilary-san, before you, I used to think of an American as sitting in front of a TV on the couch with a tub of ice cream. I thought, I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment, but thank you. So sometimes they can be funny, like our annual dinner and dance party, where my Japanese bosses dressed in drag for the good of the company. Anyone know the Korean pop music group, the Wonder Girls? Yeah? Okay, Say it again?
They opened up for the Jonas Brothers.
Did they really? In the States? That's awesome. So sometimes they loosen up a little bit. There's more stories. There's stories about massage parlors in Taiwan, which are very business customary. And there's stories about what happened with relationships and when I left the States. But you can read about those in the book, which just came out January 24th, and I'm so excited to share. I just got back from a week in Hollywood, meeting with different production companies, and we're on like the 6th version of the screenplay. So my life is pretty crazy right now. But enough about that. I want to share a little bit more about y'all. So when it comes to Kaizen, obviously I can't tell you guys entirely what we did, but I want to share with you a tidbit that you would never learn unless you were working for the company. Are you down for that? So like you could put this on your resume. Kaizen training. What we would do when we would walk into these dealerships is walk through this very simple process called decide, delete, do. It looks simple, right? You're like, duh. But here's the thing. Some of the most difficult things in life are the simplest, right? It's really easy to overcomplicate things. So when you guys came in today, you got an index card. Raise your hand if you did not get an index card. Perfect. Amazing. Okay, a couple in the front. Can we get some index cards? Or are we out? Are we out of index cards? Okay, Tim's on it. So I want you to pull that out. If you have a pen, great. If you have an extra pen, please share. If you don't have a pen, you can use your phone. This is for you. This is not for me. If you don't want to do it, no worries, but this is for you to keep. So we're going to walk through this. I think it's up front. So I want you to close your eyes for a second. Just relax. Shimmy your shoulders down. You don't need to be anywhere but here right now. This is for you. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think of like your best selfie. Where like the angle's right, or maybe the light is perfect, something where you look happy. Okay? Just imagine you happy. And ask yourself this question. is one thing I've always wanted to do, but either me, myself, or someone else has held me back from it? One thing you've always wanted to do, but you or someone else has held you back from it. Whatever it is, came into your mind, I want you to open your eyes and write that down. 10 seconds. Go. What's one thing you've always wanted to do, but you or someone else has held you back from it? Now, I get a lot of questions usually around this. Does it have to be academic? No, I'm not reading this. I don't care. It can be silly, it can be small, it can be big, it can be career-oriented, not. Doesn't matter. Just whatever came into your mind. All right, so we're going to walk through slide, delete, do. Hopefully I repeat this so many times, I'm brainwashing you the way Toyota did me. So 1, what does decide mean? In Toyota, we have this visioning exercises where we talk about setting parameters and working backwards. So the story I like to tell about this is a Buddhist story. I am not Buddhist, but I have certainly studied a lot of it. And the Buddhist story is of 2 monks, a senior monk and a junior monk. And these 2 monks are going through the forest on their journey towards enlightenment, because that's what monks do. When the senior monk and the junior monk notice that there's a woman at the riverbank standing alone that can't get across the river on her own. So, the senior monk leaves the junior monk, goes over to the woman, picks her up on his shoulder, and walks her all the way across the river to the other side where he lets her down. They join up back forces into the forest on their journey towards enlightenment, when the junior monk is a little bit bothered and the senior monk notices and asks him what's wrong. And the junior monk says, "Sir, I do not understand. You picked up that woman. You carried her across the river that is entirely against our being." The senior monk looked back at the junior monk and said, "I left her on the other side of the bank. Why are you still carrying her?" That one takes a second. So whatever it is that you've written down or you've thought about, whatever it is that's holding you back because you're caught up in what's supposed to be or not supposed to be or should happen or should not happen, just free yourself of that. Or that was Zen, this is meow. What Toyota, one of my bosses in particular, would always say to me is, "Hilary-san, give yourself permission instead of waiting for someone else to." So delete. Remove things out of your way. We could not be more and more cluttered with crap to do, right? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
We gotta work out, we gotta study, we gotta be good in our relationship, we gotta call our mom. It's like, just lists and lists. If y'all can get better at removing things out of your way now, I'm just telling you how much you will save yourself from harm in the future. How many of you guys have ever heard of the marshmallow test? Anyone? Any psych majors? You haven't heard of the marshmallow test? Great. Well, now you can take this to your next psych class. Yeah, you've heard of it? Okay, just don't talk for the next couple minutes. So the marshmallow test was a test done in the 40s by a group of psychologists. And what they did was they took a whole group of 2-year-old kids, put them in an all-white room, and gave them 1 marshmallow. They said, "Here, have this marshmallow." And right before they would eat it, they'd say, "Wait. If you wait, you can have not 1, but 2 marshmallows." How many of you think the majority of kids ate the first marshmallow and didn't wait, right? It's kind of common sense. They're 2. They don't really have reasoning to establish yet. That's not the interesting part of the story. The interesting part is that they followed these children into their adult lives, and they found that the ones who waited for the second marshmallow instead of eating the first, which was the minority of students, were more successful in their adult lives compared to the ones who ate the first marshmallow. When you hear this, What key words come to mind? Just yell it out. Patience. Successful self-control. What else?
Delayed gratification.
Delayed gratification. What was that again? Minority, sure, less than.
Integrity.
Integrity. Beautiful one, I like it. What else? We could go forever. Will, determination, you got control. It's this idea that what can you give up now for something bigger and better in the future? So what I want you to do now is write a number 2 on your card or on your phone if you're using your phone. And I want you to write down one thing, not 5 things, I don't really care. One thing that you could give up to get just a little skosh closer to the dare that you set for yourself. What could you remove out of your way? As an example, when I decided to go to Singapore, I dumped my boyfriend. Just throwing it out there. Sometimes you gotta do that. Or it's less serious, like I could give up a little time. Or it might be something like, I gotta give up my ego. It's one thing you can give up to get closer to your dare. My boss would say, with all sacrifice, or with all success, Hilary, comes sacrifice. The trick here is that people know hard work is hard work, right? Hard work pays off. I don't need to tell you guys that. You're in college, you're very successful already. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying put in the hard work and don't complain about it. Put in the hard work with awareness that you gave up a boyfriend to do something and let it go. How many of you guys have a friend that signed up for a position and then when they had to actually do something, they complained about it? Or how many of you have a friend who like wanted a boyfriend and then that boyfriend's really needy and then she goes home and she's like, oh my God, he wants so much of my time, right? Case made. Thank you very much. Up front row. So it's not that hard work is the answer. It's that when you make this sacrifice, can you be okay with it? With full awareness that you're making the sacrifice. Do. Take bold, decisive, courageous action. So this is my mom's dog. His name is Major. But my mom has another dog named Moose, who is the first in the family, and everyone kind of prefers that dog. So one day I was at my mom's house. I know, it's so cute, right? But this is like the yapping kind of dog that like follows your ankle and then licks your ankle and you're like, why are you licking my ankle? It's like that kind of dog. Fairly annoying. So one day I was at my mom's house, I had lunch and I had some leftover food, so I was like, I'll give it to one of the dogs. But when I looked down, Major was at my feet with his puppy dog eyes looking up at me, saying, please give me your food. Meanwhile, the dog that we all prefer was in the back of the yard, in the corner, sitting upright, being her like regal, snooty, I'm too good for you self. So who do you think got my food? Major, the poodle, the annoying one. Now what does this have to do with y'all? I'm not calling you guys dogs, but here's a question to ask yourself. How can someone help you with your dare if they don't know it? So now I dare you to turn to the person next to you and share your dare. 20 seconds. Go. This might be the only time you get asked this question in your college career, which is, what did it make you feel to share your dip? Spell it out. Weird. Beautiful. Love it. What else?
Nervous.
Nervous. What else?
Real.
Real. Excitement. What else?
Uncomfortable.
Awesome. I love making people uncomfortable. What else?
Accountable.
Accountable. Beautiful. Couple more. Empowered. What else? Afraid. Free. Awesome. Anyone feel awkward? Okay, I'm just going to put it up there. It's a good one for me all the time. So sorry. The second question. What is the pattern that you notice? I know my handwriting is awesome. Einstein once said that smart people have messy handwriting, so I sort of just stuck with that excuse. What is the pattern that you notice with these words? Are they though? Freeing, empowered? Both, right? It's that both exist. That is the secret behind daring yourself. When you realize that to do something, when you realize that to do something that's bold and courageous, that's never been done before, or really freaking hard, if you realize that it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be weird, it's going to be awkward, I'm going to be nervous, it's easier. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Now, don't stop with your friends. Don't stop with the person next to you. Tell people around you outside of this room. Why do I say this? Because it's actually not your friends that are going to tell you yes. So when I decided to go to Singapore, I can count on one hand how many people said yes, go, and 3 of them I had never even met in person. Why? Because the dean of the business school verbatim told me I was crazy and it was impossible. My advisor at my college said that he was disappointed in me. I told you already, my mom didn't talk to me for 3 months. My siblings were all like, here I am trying to go and outdo them. It was funny how the people closest to me, because they're associated with us, actually get afraid when you do things that are risky. And I'm sure you guys are already thinking of an example in your mind that's happened to you in your own life for this. So why I say tell the world is because you need to find the people who don't care if you succeed or not. That's when you'll be successful. There's a Japanese proverb that says, when you're ready, your teacher will come, and sometimes comes in the form of a fish, like that one. My very first business trip for Toyota was in Taiwan. We had lunch, and in the middle of the table, my boss said to me, Hilary-san, do you take fish? And I said, yes, I take fish. I'm in Asia, hopefully. A few moments later, an entire fish came to the table, from the tail, to the skin, to the eyeball. He looked back at me and said, Hilary-san, you must eat the eyeball. It's good for the women's skin. So I smiled, picked up my spoon, scooped the eyeball from its socket, held back my head, dropped it in my throat, and swallowed it whole. The entire table of Japanese executives stood up from the seats in this quiet little restaurant in applause because they couldn't believe that this young white girl from America just ate this fish eyeball in front of them. What they didn't know, though, was 2 years prior, when I was studying in Japan, I had been dared with the same dare. And it was that time, it was a group of girls, we heard this rumor, oh, did you know it's good for women's skin if you eat fish eyeballs? And we're like, no way. And we're like, way. And we're like, no way. You know how that goes? Totally happens. It took 45 minutes before we did it. We chewed it. P.S. Don't chew fish eyeballs. They pop. Oh. You're welcome. thank me later when you actually do it, because I just saved you from that horrific nature. But little did they know that that silly, insignificant moment where it was a bunch of 20-year-olds studying in Japan, where we heard this rumor that it's good for your skin. P.S. It's not good for your skin. Asians just have wonderful genes. My skin did not get better. But it was that moment that prepared us for something bigger and the better in the future. Like that moment prepared me. Little did I know 2 years later that I would have to eat a fish eyeball to garner the trust of my Taiwanese counterpart working for Toyota in Taiwan. The idea is that what if we can do this more often? Imagine if you talk to more kids in pools. Maybe not the guys. Don't take this advice. You know, that might be crossing some lines. But girls, we have a little bit more flexibility there. Or we came to the front of the room more often, not waiting to see what this silly girl is going to make us do. Or we ate more fish eyeballs. What if we took on these dares? The key is without expected outcome. Because in the moment, it's confident for us to do it. I truly believe that this is when we live a more fulfilling and happy life. So my mission, over the last 5 years, I've spoken to campuses all over the country and abroad, and it's this idea of creating bold, courageous global leaders that don't really care so much about the success, but really cultivating these skill sets within them.
Hilary Corna.
Some people
Always eat the eyeballs.
take the dare very, very seriously. So this was a student I had in a program about 4 years ago. His dare was to become a Fulbright. He became a Fulbright, and then on the beach of Mexico, as a Fulbright, he sent me this video, and it's just the most epic thing ever because he really instilled in him everything that I stand for as a person. So, again, decide, delete, do. The last thing I want to end on is this very vague, ambiguous word called self-trust, and it's a big deal. Why I mention this is because the number one question that I get asked is, Hilary, that sounds great and everything, but how do you build the confidence to do this? And I want to be very clear. Confidence and experience is not a chicken and egg situation. It's not which one comes first. Which one comes first? Experience. Thank you so much, whoever said that. I love you. Experience. One must dare to be uncomfortable, trusting that confidence will come. No one just becomes confident overnight. No one just buys a one-way ticket to Asia overnight. It's through a series of really small dares that you build yourself up for bigger and better things in the future. So with that, I want to end on, what do most people do? They don't decidedly do. They deny, they distract, and they delay. Raise your hand if you know someone that does this to themselves. Right? Tim? I see you, man. I see ya. So with that, I wanted to say, in partnership, I actually work with the Coca-Cola Scholars Foundation, which funds scholarships for underprivileged high school students. So if you do get a copy of the book after the end of this, know that you will be doing some good unknowingly. And lastly, I want you to remember that through daring yourself, maybe someday you'll meet your own little kids in pools like this one. His name is Ren. We still keep in touch right now. He's 10, and he's actually planning to come and spend a whole summer here in the States with me. So life is amazing. Go out there, be bold, be courageous, be daring. I love you so much. Thank you for sharing this evening with me. Arigatou gozaimasu.